Today we talk about porn, death, and how Kim Jong Un smells like gingivitis in Dennis Rodman's asshole. Let's get started.
This is a news show.
Sup, nation? It is Thursday. My name's Philip DeFranco, and I'm about to talk about stuff with you in your If You Would Have Me. And the first thing I want to talk about today is good old pornography. And the reason for that is Pornhub.com just released an infographic that answers the question, which states, cities, and countries have the most impressive stamina according to Pornhub viewership statistics. And the way that they got these stats is they looked at the amount of time users spent looking at a video before they got off of the web page. And probably in other ways. And I'm sorry, America, we are not number one, but instead that honor goes to China at 14 minutes and 34 seconds. The United States respectably landed at 10 minutes and 17 seconds, Canada at 9 minutes 52 seconds, and at the bottom of the barrel for countries was Iraq with just 5 minutes and 30 seconds. And then, because this is my job and I take it super serious, I dove deeper. And I looked at the numbers for all of the little areas in the United States, and I found something kind of interesting. Many of the cities are around that US average. But Tempe, Arizona clocked in at an average of 5 minutes and 16 seconds. And I don't know what they put in the water, but Mountain View, California averaged over 21 minutes. It's either a lot of stamina or a bunch of movie buffs like waiting till the end to see if there's a twist. Sure, she's paying him with sex, but does the pizza boy get a tip? Does her husband come home? At the end, do you find out her vagina's been dead the entire time? You don't know, and you don't want to skip ahead to the end, then the artistic vision's lost on you. And the main point of this story is porn's not weird, you guys. And the reason it's not weird is because we're all weird. We all freaks. If you don't think you are, you just maybe haven't found it yet. Let that freak flag fly. I just spit all over everything. Ah. And from there, I want to share some stuff I love today, and Today in Awesome, sponsored by 4humanpeoples.com. FHP, of course, where we sell the posters, the shirts, the tank tops, the hoodies. We also just launched these 5 new designs available for 1 week only, and if you order in the next 24 hours, guess what? There's a discount. How much? I'm not authorized to say, and by that, I mean I'm deciding right now. So if you want to snag one, grab one while you can. And the first bit of awesome is the only boy band that will ever matter to me is the Backstreet Boys. They have a movie called Show 'Em What You're Made Of coming out in 2015. It looks like it includes where they started, their peak, the crazy scamming and all the downfall stuff, where they are now, before people of my generation start freaking out because they're like, in sync. I loved them too, but mainly because they gave us Justin Timberlake, and also because Justin Timberlake used to look like this. Then an Amazon Prime awesome, I love the service. And if you live in Manhattan, they are testing a new amazing service, 1 and 2 hour delivery. 2 hour delivery is free, and 1 hour delivery is $7.99. My only question is, in their video where they're advertising this, how did the bike messenger carry a 42-inch TV? Then a nerdy awesome YouTuber, CGP Grey, made a Lord of the Rings Mythology Explained video for idiots like me that stopped reading the Lord of the Rings after about 40 pages. It's just there were so many words and there weren't enough sexy lady elf on lady elf lovin's. How do you think HBO does that? Every first season of almost every show they launch, there is like a naked or like nude sex scene. They hook you in by the balls and then you stay for the brainy stuff. And then there were 2 bits of prosthetic limb awesome. It's always so amazing to see like how prosthetics, how technology in general is advancing. The first story was about a Colorado man who had lost both his arms in a freak electric accident 40 years ago. He went to Johns Hopkins University Applied Physics Laboratory, and they hooked him up with this rig, and just by thinking of how he wanted to move his hands, he was able to move 2 prosthetic limbs. Obviously the tech's really early on, like he's not walking in and walking out jacks. And then the second story, because they were like, let's be honest, the internet only cares about cute animals. They took this poor adorable husky that had lost both of its front legs, and they gave him prosthetics very similar to what the Blade Runner used. And it just warms your heart and shows just how 3D printing has made stuff like this so much easier for people. And then of course the final bit of awesome today is our secret link of the day. If you want to check that out or anything else I talked about or shared today, links as always in the description down below. And then I want to talk about 2 very interesting stats we have in the United States this year. In 2014, states executed 35 people and the justice system sentenced 72 people to death. And the reason that's interesting is that's the fewest number of people executed since 1994 and the fewest number of people sentenced in 40 years. But the reason doesn't seem to be that the people don't want the death penalty anymore. A Gallup poll in October found that 63% of Americans still support the death penalty, and the number is smaller because 3 states botched executions, that being Ohio, Oklahoma, and Arizona, and there's a drug shortage that affects the cocktail that they use to kill people with. And I mention all of this because it's just generally interesting, but also because yesterday a judge threw out a murder conviction against a 14-year-old boy. The extra sad thing is it was 70 years years too late. 14-year-old George Stinney Jr., seen here, was convicted of beating 2 young white girls to death in a small town in South Carolina. It was 1944 in South Carolina. His trial lasted 3 hours. The jury of his peers were 12 white men who took 10 minutes to sentence him to death, and he was executed within 3 months from the actual murders. And they executed him. They killed him. There's this terrible story about to get him into the electric chair. He had to sit on a phone book. He was that small. And the officials said that Stinney had admitted that he killed the 11 and 8-year-old girl with a railroad spike. But civil rights advocates spent years opening this case. There were witnesses that said that he wasn't there. He was with them. The officials forced a confession out of this 14-year-old boy. And it's interesting to look at these dark moments of any history, but of course your own history. Take a moment and go, wow, that's terrible. But has stuff changed, and has it changed enough? And for a lot of people, it's black and white. For me, it's always been a gray area, something that I've always kind of struggled with. And there's no real end to that one. It's something that I look at and it makes me think. And the last thing I want to talk about today is the Sony story that has become so much more. Yesterday, after the PDS was already filmed out and done, Sony announced they were canceling the worldwide release of the movie The Interview. And it is kind of scary that this happened. A lot of people reacting like America was backing down from North Korea. But people should understand there is a difference between Sony, a private company, and America as a whole. I do agree and believe in this case the hackers seemingly have won. And I agree with Senator John McCain that says this Sony decision sets a troubling precedent. Adding, recently reported intelligence findings that North Korea directed cyber attacks at Sony Pictures Entertainment and Sony Pictures' decision to cancel the release of an upcoming movie in reaction to those cyber attacks are profoundly troubling. But then he also turned it into a way to bash the White House and try to get elected for something, saying, make no mistake, the need for Sony Pictures to make that decision ultimately arose from the administration's continuing failure to satisfactorily address the use of cyber weapons by our nation's enemies. This must change. If elected chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee, I will enhance congressional oversights of related programs, operation, and activities by establishing a subcommittee. And then it continues for a while. President Obama, on the other hand, gave an interview where he said, and I'll just quote him rather than playing the clip because he pauses for so long, and he starts off by saying, when I first came into office, I said hackers were a big deal, both state-sponsored and rogue, that we needed to defend ourselves. With this specific case, we see no credible evidence, though, of any serious threat to theaters or some sort of terrorist attack against theaters that are screening this particular movie at issue. We'll be vigilant. If we see something we think is serious and credible, then we'll alert the public. But for now, my recommendation would be that people go to the movies. And at the end of the day, what we have is somehow this most likely stupid stoner comedy that I probably would have enjoyed in some way has made everything high stakes. The government thinks that North Korea is centrally involved, which can be seen as more than cyber warfare against Sony, but as cyber warfare against America, because those movies and Hollywood in general make money for America. Hollywood in general is going to be fearful to make anything about this country, but that also opens it up to anyone else that is possibly touching an issue that could be sensitive. I mean, according to new reports, very silently, Steve Carell's upcoming North Korea movie has been canceled. And it makes you wonder, what's the next thing? Where does it stop? Like I said yesterday, I understand from a business point of view why Sony would make this decision. Everything around them is blowing up. The last thing you want to do is actually be held responsible, even if it's just in the public thought. If one stupid crazy person decided to go try and take out a movie theater on Christmas, people would victim blame like crazy, saying that they warned her. They got these threats and they still released the movie? Gosh, they did it probably because they're greedy. It's a movie that makes money. How dare they? And it is a kind of scary thought that if North Korea is in fact behind it, a place that controls their people, what they consume, what they can do, did so to a foreign country by attacking a foreign company. And that's why I love, despite all of this, human rights activists of Fighters for a Free North Korea, run by a former government propagandist who escaped to South Korea, has for years used balloons to get transistor radios, DVDs, and other items into North Korea, and they now plan to do that with DVDs of The Interview. And of course the stats vary, but it's believed that 76% of North Koreans own a TV and 46% of them own a DVD player. And just by watching this stupid stoner comedy, it is an act of standing up to this totalitarian government. Watching a film there, especially this film, is something you can be executed for. It's believed that in 2014, this happened to 80 people. And so somehow this stupid movie could become this huge silent rebellion. I guess the main point I want to get across is Kim Jong Un, go fuck yourself, go fuck your dead daddy, go fuck your dead granddaddy, go fuck your stupid weak ass ankles, and also Dennis Rodman sucks, you can have him. Nation, on that note, that's where I'm gonna end today. today's show. Of course, if you're not 100% filled in, be sure to check out one of my brand new vlogities. Been having more fun with those, posting a lot of those again. Also, I won't be on my Twitch stream today because I'm leaving right now to go film a podcast with Joe Rogan. So once that's up, I'll include a link down below so you can check that out. And Nation, just in general, I want to thank you for another year. You're gonna hear me say that over and over again in the next 2 weeks, and that is because it's the year in review videos of sexy, what the fuck, D-bags, bamps, and I'll be gone for the most part till the new year comes, except for the vlogity where I'll probably just be uploading really stupid videos of myself and my fam. I do mean that. Thank you for an amazing year. Thank you for all the love on the other video where it just, I was like, oh yes, all the people that normally don't comment pitching in. As always, I'm thankful for it. I love your faces, and I'll see you next time.
The best-selling boy band in history.
Then it just stopped.
What is your favorite musical?
That's so hard. That's like saying, what's your favorite kind of chocolate candy?